but I want to do a shout out to somebody who's really been very sweet to me. Let's do that. I took 2 of the quilts that I've done on the long arm. Something else dark needs to go there. Welcome back. We're back at it. I am working on more of the Mars Quilt. I had to stop, as you saw in that last video, a little prematurely just because my energy ran out for the day. And then yesterday I didn't have, a reboost of that energy, and I had to go into town. So I only got this much done on another section. But it's okay. We make progress where we can make progress. I'm going to work on this one. I got this little piece I want to add to here, but I want to do a shout out to somebody who's really been very sweet to me. He's done a big blessing for me and for this channel and for Avery Quilts. Avery Quilts is, of course, the charity aspect of what we're doing here on this channel, and that's the making of quilts for pediatric patients on transplant waiting lists. And, of course, pediatric means anything from birth to 19 years of age. So that's a large span of interests. So you can have your really, really cute little quilts, and you can have your really, sophisticated quilts too. The whole spectrum of interest when you're talking about an age group from birth to 19 years, right? Okay, so with all that said, Barry Quilts is contributing a blog, and he posted about it on his channel and did a video about it. And he sent me a picture of what he's done. He's done a great job. He says he's going to do another one and then send both those in. I can't wait to get it. And some of you might be new from his channel. Thank you very much for coming on over here and for subscribing. And before I get onto this, I want to do my quick little appeal. If you are not a subscriber, please do. I'm trying to grow the reach of this channel, not just so I can continue to try to make a living doing this, something that I love, but so that we can do more together as a community. And one of those things is hashtag Avery Quilts. All right, my friends, let me go sew this, and then we're going to figure out how to add. I'm going to get that whole quadrant done somehow today. I've got some distractions going on. I've got this house. I don't know if any of you have ever encountered a flat roof house. It's just not a smart thing. If you ever think about building a house and you think, oh, those flat roofs look cool. Well, the roofing material itself is not cool. I've had a leak, so someone is here taking a look at it right now. So I expect a lot of interruptions. So we'll see how far I get. But I'm going to give it my best. And, it's my ex-husband who is actually here helping me with this problem. He's well familiar with this house. And I tell you, as far as ex-husbands go, he's a keeper. But I assume there's going to be a lot of interruptions, and it's just going to take longer than it normally would if it's somebody I didn't know. So what we're going to do is just stay busy while we can stay busy. I'm using this now for pressing my seams open. I don't know that it's any more efficient than using a heated source, but I do like the fact that I don't have an iron sitting there hot as can be for hours and hours on end. For the most part, see, I just kind of lightly press it open. Then I'm going to turn it over and press from this side. And, just kind of do a hard press. What I don't like about this is that it pulls on the fabric. So you can, especially while I'm dealing with all these biases, I can get some good stretch on my pieces. But on this improv style of block making, because it's not really a block, my stretch isn't really going to matter. I mean, unless I can really warp something out of place, and then you're going to get some looseness inside your structure. Like, let's say this one right here was really stretched out, and then you might get some puckering inside here. But for the most part, it's not going to matter because I'm not exactly matching my seams or anything like that. So for right now, I'm just using this. I do have a little iron by my machine now that is actually a miniature heat press. I like how small it is for keeping next to the machine. But having this means I don't have to worry so much about the concern of having a hot iron. Let's take this over to the quilt, kind of see where it might go and see what we need to add next. Initially, I was building something that would go here, and that's just going to go too tall. I wonder if this won't fill out right here really nicely. Got a nice Y seam. Something tells me I'm just going to have a few Y seams. I'm going to leave that right there. Do I like that right there? I think so. So if I do that, then I just need to come and fill this in and then add to this section in here. So let's do that. Let's do that. I found my tripod. That's why you have the view that you have right now. There's just a little problem with it. The receiver for my mic goes on my phone and it doesn't fit inside this tripod properly. So it's kind of a precarious situation at the moment, but I wanted to show you something. I figure out how I'm going to cut the new piece 2 different ways. This is, I think, going to be my favorite, but I just kind of line it up and think, okay, I need to follow this line so that I can add something to that, right? So I line it up there. This is at the beginning, and I don't care what shape this is out here right now because I like the improvness. And then I just kind of do a cut that follows along that line a little bit. So then I can take it and put it right there. Another way to do it is to do work in the reverse. Because what you need is whenever you do your sewing and you flip it back over, you want it to go in the direction that you want it to go in, right? So it gets a little tricky when you're working in reverse, which is the other way to do this. I want to point out to you a mistake I made with that explanation that I just gave you guys about how to cut your pieces. This was a rookie mistake. I shouldn't have made it. But before I tell you about that, I want to tell you that yesterday I did make progress on something I had promised that I would do in the previous video. I took 2 of the quilts that I've done on the long arm and I put those up outside and took some pictures of them outside. It was kind of a race against the sun going down and I lost. So I don't have the sun really on them, but it really wasn't bad either. I mean, it was still out in daylight. It wasn't dark or dusk or anything like that, but I just needed to have timed it a little bit earlier. And then keep that in mind that as I'm setting up my, it looks kind of like this, you know, this is the tripod that I use for putting the phone on, but it looks like this, you know, as I'm setting all this up, the sun is going to be changing, so I need to kind of plan on where I set up the stand for the quilts. I need to plan on where the sun is going to be hitting once I get done. And then by the time I get that quilt shot, the sun's going to be in a different place, and then you need to move it yet again. I just need the sun to slow down when I'm doing my outside shots, right? You know, I had fun doing that. I'm going to go ahead and grab the phone and put it facing down. So the mistake I made is that I made this length here the length of this outer edge, this length from here to here. And it needed to be the full length from here to here so that my 1/4 inch seam would end, including the red fabric. Because what's going to happen now is any seam I make on this fabric has to include a 1/4 inch into here. So that's basically nullifying this much of the fabric. So my seam will have to be something like that. Got a 1/4 inch into this seam, a good 1/4 inch here. So my next piece of fabric needs to be from here to here at the point where it is stitched. So that was the rookie mistake I made, is I made this too short. So I know none of you would make that mistake, right? Surely not. Surely not. Okay, let's press this open. Just a little light press, get it going in the right direction. And then I'm bringing it over this side. Nice, quick and easy. No biggie. No biggie. I'm going to go ahead and cut want to keep as much of that red on there as possible. So I'm going to use that angle. Okay, good. Yep. All right. So I'm going to add onto here. Now, clearly, I'm either going to have a Y seam to put together, or I need to change the angle on some things. And I think I might, let's see, if I change the angle to follow along here, I'm looking at that, which is not really what I wanted. But I could do that, and then I could take this and flip it and put it on here. That might look cool, actually. All right, let's do that. I kind of like that thought. So let's just work with that. You can't do this wrong. You can do it to where it takes you more time, but you can't do it wrong. Okay, so if I take this and I flip it and do that, number one, I got to add to this, or I'm going to have another Y seam, right? So I would have to add to this before I could add it onto here. But I don't really like the idea of how that would look necessarily. Although there's nothing wrong with how that would look. You know, it would look like, you know, a rock that's been disheveled, and you know, from earthquakes or whatever happening to it, or asteroids hitting it. So I could also just come back and I could put this down here and add to it, you know, add to it out here. I think maybe we'll do that. So let's add to this piece, keeping a straight edge along here. And then we'll do that with the intention of adding it onto this. I like that. I'm going to get rid of this fuzz. It's bothering me. So doing that photo shoot yesterday with the quilts was my first time to do that. And it's taught me, you know, the initial things it's going to teach me. And I know there's going to be even more. I'm not sure what all that's going to be, but I know I need to keep an eye out on the time of day it is. I need to keep an eye out for how many I plan to do and plan for the sun to change during that amount of time. Things like that. It takes more energy than you might imagine. I think it'd be good to have more than one camera set up so you could get different angles all at one time. Yay. See, that would be a nice straight edge to add on to. Setting that aside now, and we're going to work on that. This suction cup handle, forget where this came from, but it is it's nice, you know, it's lightweight, but this one works so much better. It suctions really nicely, doesn't come up. This one comes up all the time. I had to reapply it. It works fine, but it also doesn't work fine. Okay, let's add to this. If this is going to be going here, what might I want here? Maybe let's do some of that red and white. Put a little pop in there. Okay, so I'm going to need something to add on to this that is this long, right? So why don't so if I start right here, I know it's going to be long enough. Okay. Do I care what angle this has to it? Not really. I'm just going to come back like that. So using my method of laying this right side up, I know I'm going to need a seam that is going to reach from, I know I'm going to need to be able to make a seam that reaches from this 1/4 inch to this 1/4 inch way up here, right? So I know that I need this red fabric to end where this does, right? So I'm putting this on this piece of red fabric so that I know that I'm getting a long enough of a piece here that I can come in and make a 1/4 inch seam, and I'm going to be, whenever I capture 1/4 inch in from this edge on this top piece, I'll be capturing all of what's underneath it too. So I know I need my straight edge to be right there, 1/4 inch over. It's kind of off screen a little bit, wasn't it? There. I'm going to be able to catch both fabrics, this top one and those bottom pieces, in my 1/4 inch seam. Okay, so the same thing happened. Why did it happen? Because we were thorough about it, right? Well, yes, we did have enough of both pieces so that we could make our 1/4 inch seam and capture this bottom piece and this top piece all the way through that 1/4 inch, except for down here because of the angle. Because that went up like that, I'm only able to go to right here. So I need to figure out how to think in advance so I don't have that problem come up anymore. And it should not be too hard for me to think through, commit to memory. I'm sure I figured it out whenever I was working on this before. Yep, I can feel a little bit of stretch happening because I'm on a bias there. I don't know about that tool. So this is what I wanted, right, was to do this. So let me straighten up this edge. So far, so good. Not too bad. I think if we add a piece here, I think it'd be nice if it comes in at a little bit of a triangle and then add on to that from there. And add a little bit of this. We don't have much of this color in there at all. To me, it's a little too pinky, but a little bit of it won't hurt. A little bit won't hurt. Oh, I'm trying to go for over here. I almost forgot what I was doing. Okay, I'm going to go in a little bit. 1/4 inch over from there. Put that there just to hold my spot. That'll be fine. I don't want to just keep on going over here and then have a bigger piece added on. I want to go ahead and straighten out this edge, add to this edge, and then get another piece that would be added. Like create a piece that goes here and then add on to this seam. Does that make sense? And honestly, I may want to make, no, I'm not going to complicate this. I'm not going to complicate it. I was about to create that triangle out of smaller pieces, but I've got enough minute piecing going on to make things interesting so it doesn't look too blocky. I've got enough of that going on. I don't have to work extra hard for that. It's happening naturally. Okay, I think we should have a little piece of me says that's where one of our fish should go. Do we want to put some fish in here? Let's just do it. Let's just go ahead and put some fish in. Where did my fishy go? All right. Do we think these fish are going to go better or these fish? These fish are going to make a big statement. They're going to pop more. I kind of want to do the pop. I think color-wise, this is better. It's more muted, like all this is muted. But let's just cut it and do it and see if we like it. I keep track of what's going on Mars as much as I keep track of politics. So for all I know, we've already found evidence that fish were on Mars. I don't know. So if I do that, and I'm going to want to have a seam that comes up from here. So I'm just going to make things a little bigger just to give myself room. Sew that together. I'm kind of excited about the fish. See, because I gave myself another 1/4 inch when I went to cut my piece, I had enough to take this seam all the way to the edge. So the end of that stitching, I could have gone a little bit more, even like another 1/16 of an inch, but I'm only off by 1/16. I think that's interesting. All right. So I'm going to have to look it up whenever I'm at the computer editing. But the fact that this fabric looks the same front and back, does that mean by default that it is a batik? Is there another technique that this could be done with that would make it look like that? Okay, I know that looks huge right now, but by the time you take a 1/4 inch here and a 1/4 inch here, it's going to shrink down. I like the pop. I was about to grab some gray, a lighter gray, but I don't want that. I think it would take away from this contrast, and I'm liking that contrast. Something else dark needs to go there. Why don't we go with a little bit of this? I think this is good. We haven't put in any of this today. The deep burgundy, we're going to have a nice contrast with it. I'm going to cut this one where it's a little higher here and goes and tapers down to here. So maybe a little bit higher. Do that. I just don't want it to look like a block, a rectangular block. All right. All right, this is looking good. Isn't that looking good? I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, let me get my seam pressed open. We'll figure out what's next. So the footage that I got yesterday of all those quilts on the quilt stand outside by the shoreline, and I wasn't right at the shoreline, but I was close enough to it. I just didn't, I really wasn't sure. This is not what I was about to say, but I just really wasn't sure how close to get to the shoreline, what it would look like in the camera once I had the quilts at the shoreline, or if I needed to have some distance from the shoreline. I really think I need to go to the city park, which is next door, to do this, but I just didn't have enough energy to do all that. I'll do it some other time. But anyway, what I was going to say is I'm going to use that to make some shorts to put on the other channel. The other channel is called Quilter for Hire, and I'm going to put it over there. I just needed to have some content over there to help bring in business for the long arm. Need this long arm paying for itself, Not quite sure how I'm going to do it because I didn't get on camera any while I was doing it. I was totally just, a race against the sun going down, just trying to figure out how to do it all. And like I said, I just really didn't have energy. Now that is a happenstance I was not planning for. Look at that. It's like a 4-patch. I got seams that are going to match up. I did not plan for that. Now I could offset it. Like I could bring this down a little bit. I think I might. Or I could add to this and bring it up a little bit. I think I kind of like that a little bit better. Have it more like that. So I might add something here. Yeah. I just don't like, what was it there? Yeah, that's what was going to happen. I just think that looks a little too, I don't know, it could be fine. Why am I fighting it? Let's not fight it. Let's just go with the flow. Let's not fight it. I think I'm going to build what's happening here by starting with a piece of black that's going to go here. And because I think I just need more strong depth there to really make this pop. Depth of saturation, I mean. And this black does that. So I'm going to just get a little piece that's about that big. what is that? That is 2.5. And let's see, let's come down to 2.5. So what is that angle? That'd be 90, like a 120 degree angle, 2.5. Let's see how I can do that just by eyeballing it. So I'm going to increase it to 3. That's why we keep our rotary cutters closed. So 3. So that's roughly 120 degrees right there, right? Now I did all this in reverse, so what is that going to do to what I'm doing over here? When I sew that like that, it's not right. If I sew it like that, it's going to go that way. If I sew it like that, I think I'm going to like doing that because that means I'm going to have to cut off some of this so my triangles I don't have 3 pointy triangles ending. I'd rather them be blunt, like this is blunt. So even though this is kind of what I was going for, so this is what I was going for, right? Like this being like that. If I do that, I'm going to have points, proper triangles. And I don't have a lot of proper triangles. I have a lot of blunt points, which is fine. Of course, here I've got a pretty good triangle. I'm not going to overthink it. That needs to be my motto for this. Don't overthink it. Just go with it. Okay, well, I am a little silly. I went over there and started sewing this, which is not right because I'm trying to build something I can add onto this edge. So I'm going to take this out. This makes me think about Barry's video this morning because he put one of the half square triangle units onto his block incorrectly and he needed to seam rip. And so I want to demonstrate what this looks like. So you put your the ball point on the inside. Sorry, this is at an angle where I can't see, and I feel like I don't have good light right here. So I'm doing it based off just feeling it. Anyway, so I'm putting the stitches into that corner right there inside the little scoop of your blade. And you just hold on to your stitches and you press. Just like that, it's done. So I wanted to demonstrate that. That's one of the things I learned after I was quilt making. I think it was Fat Quarter Shop. I think it was Kimberly who I saw do that. And I was like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. And that took away one of the concerns I had about getting into quilt making. I just don't like ripping seams. I don't like undoing things. You know what? Since that's kind of bright and that's kind of bright, I'm going to put a little smidge of something right here that's bright. Got this little piece just hanging out here. Let's just use it. I'm going to add to this probably a contrast going the other direction. Let's go with some browns. You know what? I wasn't going to use that, but I think that's fine. Let's just stick that on right there. I like it. I'm going to get my edge straight there. Where this ends, touching this piece, I'm going to put my ruler right there and then take the other end to where it touches that seam, and then I'm going to straighten that out, create a seam that I can add onto. Yeah. Is that what I wanted to do? Oh, I know. It was tucked underneath. Okay, add to this. Right? This is what we've got going on right now. This and this. You add to the puzzle here, add to the puzzle here, and then take this piece of the puzzle and add to this. We can do this. We can do this, and we can have fun. I'm so glad to be back in the studio just playing. But that doesn't mean I don't want your business. Please remember me. You know, I need to be using the long arm. I need the long arm to pay for itself so we can use it to make quilts for charity. So if you don't mind, remember me whenever you've got quilts to put together. I can base them for you. I can quilt them for you. I like that. That's going to pop good. Let's do that. Okay. One of the things I did when Mark got here, he had not met the puppies yet. So I told him, you've got to, if you're coming and going out these doors, you have got to make sure you don't let Ruby out, because you give her half a chance. She's out that door and she's on the East Coast somewhere. She's not just in the next county, but before you can say her name, she has hightailed it for other grounds. That hound in her just says, I've got things to smell. Let me go smell. So I'm being kind of hyper vigilant, paying attention to when he's coming and going and where the dogs are. Bessie's not that way. How did I want to do this? Is this the way I wanted to do that? It was like this, wasn't it? I'm going to have to go back. No, this is like that. Yeah. So I got to add a piece here now. And then we'll start building this way. Yes. Bessie's not that way. I mean, she'll get out and she'll play whatever, but she wants to be near you, and she's not driven by her nose the way Ruby is. Ruby's a hound. She is driven by that nose. Any of you guys have a dachshund or a beagle or any other kind of hound? But that's what Ruby is. She's a doxel, D-O-X-L-E. It's a blend between a dachshund and a beagle. I'm just cutting a piece here. My space is getting a little cramped. Yep. Just going to sew that. I could take this, like that. Stop overthinking it, Dawn. Trying not to stretch the fabric and just kind of press on it to flatten out that tension that is created at the seam. Okay, so if that goes there, this whole thing goes like that. Then I did add on to here and add on to here. This just fell into my hands pretty much. Let's just use that. It is weird hearing somebody on the roof because it's a flat roof. Like, it's just a different feeling when you hear somebody up there. Okay, I'm going to sew that. You know, there's no attic between me and him up on the roof. So you hear the footsteps. You tell exactly where he is up there. You think, don't fall in. The TV station I worked for had a flat roof too, and they always had problems with leaks and stuff. And finally, I think that's what they had. I think so. And then finally, they put a metal roof up. Cost us a fortune, but it solved the problem. My next door neighbor here has that too. Oh, sorry. Here we go. less talking. Okay, I'm going to clean up that edge. So if any of you care to, go over to my other channel and subscribe there so that when I put my shorts up about these quilts, you can like those for me. So it would help create some activity there. I'm trying to keep promotion for the long arm on a different channel so you guys don't feel like, I'm always asking you to do something for me. I'm not asking you for business. I'm asking you to be on this creative journey with me. Okay, that's good. I think this angle on this needs to be a little bit cleaned up because it kind of stops right there. It's probably hard to see because that's the seam allowance that's turned from the other edge, from the other side. But that's really the end. Okay. That goes there. This goes here. Put all these seams on top so I don't end up sewing them going the wrong direction. See what we're going to get. That's going to be good. Okay, I'm going to cut this here. Get a nice clean edge. And then I'm going to add this to here. I like it. We're doing good. We're doing good. We're doing good. Maybe before I cut that, is that what I was doing? Yep, that's what I was doing. Got to straighten up this edge. See how it kind of goes in a little bit here? So I need to figure out, I'm going to have to cut it. It's going to look a little bit more like that whenever it's all said and done. It's going to be fine. My lowest point, so I either have to go, like straight across here and cut into this and cut into this, or I can follow that angle a little bit. I kind of want to split the difference. I want to keep as much of this as I can and keep some of that orange too. So let's do that. Okay. Put those together. And then we'll put it on the wall and see what we've done. There we go. Let's open that seam up. Get it lying flat. And put it on the wall. It's got several seams coming together, so I may have to use the iron for this. This is the first time I've tried just pressing my seams open. I don't know that I'm going to be really happy because I really like it when they lie really flat. Use a little bit of Mariana's Best Press because I have a feeling I'm going to be pressing these back down again and again and again. And if that's the case, the efficiency just went right out the door, right? Plus you have more of a concern about getting a stretch, right? This seam is a little tedious. All right, let's go put this on the wall. See that little corgi under the chair? That's where she hangs out. I know she won't be running out the door. She's always with her mama. But it's Ruby, who's sitting downstairs on her princess pad on one of my recliners, who I've got to worry about. Okay, I think we were putting this here, weren't we? Weren't we doing that? So kind of feel like it needs that would be like that. So I'm going to need more here and more here. So rounding it out in there. We're getting there. I don't know that I'll hit my goal by the end of the day because I've got to go out to the pharmacy too. Yeah, I don't know, but I'm going to keep plugging away while I can. Okay, I'm going to put a big triangle in here. Triangle in here. No. Triangle that fits here. And then something that fits here. And then something that fits here. Because the objective is to make this round. I think I mentioned to you guys the other day that I had a change to the design that I was contemplating. And what that is yes, make this crust round, but make the quilt rectangular still. I don't know. I haven't decided. That's just what I'm speculating right now. You can vote in the comments. Tell me what you think. Okay, triangle here, triangle here. I'm going to do this little one first, and then I'll do a triangle here. I don't know if you guys could tell that I've got you on kind of a diagonal perspective of everything because I put you back on my regular tripod, and I needed that to not be right in front of me. Putting you on this other one meant that we can't use my mic. And I know it's important to have good sound. I think I was going to put a triangle there, right? Let's put a triangle there. What color do we want? Let's bring this out to the exterior. Let's do a little bit of that. I think between each of these big blocks that we're doing, I need to like come over here and clean up my fabric because it's getting like hard to see what all I have. It's just out of control. Okay, I'm going to cut a piece like that. And going over a 1/4 inch from there. Still got a good blade in my cutter here. That's good. Now when I go back to the long arm, I need to change out my needle. Keep on trying to remind myself of that. Honestly, I need to probably change the needle in my sewing machine too. Just get a fresh start on everything. How did I do that? I didn't do it long enough. That's the edge from there to there that I should have cut. My handle came off again. It's easy not to put back on, but it's like, why even bother having it on there at all? We're going to have to keep on putting it on. Okay, a triangle over here. What do we want? Okay, so I pulled some of this to this edge. Let's pull some of this to this edge. Why not? I'm going to have to go make sure the dogs are not eating Mark. Can you hear them barking? I'm going to sew this piece and then I'll go make sure he's still alive. Something tells me he can handle himself. I can hear him back on the roof, so he must be alive. The dogs did not eat him. And they're not barking like they were. Okay, now let's add on to this. Let's do that with a bulkier piece, you know, something with some more size because we got all this little stuff going. We don't want it to just seem too congested. Let's put a bigger piece out here. So if we're going to do a bigger piece, what are we going to do? We do more of the black, this darker color here. I think that's the back side. It is. We could do that, and that, you know, would make sense to some degree. I was going to suggest this, but it would look like it's bookended. We've got this in 3 places. I wonder about going in with more of this. Yeah, I think that's the right one. I think we've got all the fabrics represented in this one block. Oh, look at that. It's almost the right length there. So I know I'm going to want to go this direction. And I'm just going to let that seam press over to one side because there's no seams on here on that side, so we're going to have less bulk if we do that. I'm going to follow this edge and clean this up. Have a better looking block. I'm going to have to add something to that because it's not going to, following this line, there's not enough of that. That's, okay, we can do that. Let's put it back on the board and see what we've got. So I had to wait for my battery to recharge, and while I did, I put on a couple of pieces. I think I did something to this one, I can't recall. But I added this, which extends this area, so I have a nice long seam here that I can make. So that gives me a little pie shape to fill in here, one here. If we use, I think you can see this, if we use this point, you can't see that. Anyway, there's a point that already exists that's the furthest away from our center. This is our center right here. So if I use that as my furthest away point, and I'm going to make this round, then based off of this as my center point, then I need to figure out, let me find, I've got a yardstick, I think, that I was using to put the one point of it on the very center and using that as my furthest point and then arcing it up. And that tells me how much I have to fill in. I don't want to overmake blocks. Of course, anything that I were to overmake and I cut that away, I can put it on the far side on any of the other quadrants that of this puzzle that we're putting together. There's plenty of pieces to be built yet. I feel good about where we're getting to. And I think I'm going to leave it there for the day. I need to go to the pharmacy and, cook and that kind of stuff. So I need to save some energy for that. But I am just so excited now. I feel like I'm seeing it come together. I think the next thing I'm going to do is do what I just said. Tomorrow we'll come in and we'll figure out just how big of an arc, that we need, how far away from our center our arc needs to be. And then I'll start sewing things together so that we have at least a section put together. Instead of trying to make another big block or whatever, I'll just try to get everything that's here as assembled as we can. That's kind of exciting. Before this week's out, notice the change. When we had the first video of this week, I said, I'm going to do this whole section today. And then I ran out of energy and didn't do it. And now the more realistic version of me is saying, hey, by the end of the week, maybe we can get that done. So maybe by the end of the week, we can get that done. I hope you're moving the needle just beautifully in your studio and all is going well. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.